Good evening, everyone.
Light over your head.
I would like to start the public hearing on June 8th. And we are just here to get the public's input on Soltage LLC, 604 H Road, map 224, lot 026. It is a conditional use application for an 18-acre solar array. So Soltage, I would like to hear from, where I've got to look at pictures here. Jim, perhaps you want to give us a synopsis or of what is it is?
Sure. I can tell about the project.
Start by introducing yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Jim Moran. I'm with Burns & McDonnell. I'm working with Soltage. Brett Pingree is also on the Zoom chat, so he can get involved if he would like. But basically, it's a 18-acre solar array built in a field. It's going to require there is an existing road to the site that will require some modifications to accommodate the development of the solar array. We currently have permits from the Army Corps and the Maine DEP, so they've given us their blessing. We've also had review of the project by the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, as well as the Maine Natural Areas Program.
Okay, you've frozen up a little bit.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me, see me?
Everything.
Maybe I'm frozen up, but can you hear me okay, Joyce?
I can hear you now. We were just at BP when froze.
Sorry about that. So as I was saying, the project is we've received permits, the Maine DEP and the Army Corps permits for the project. We're now before the town looking for their approval of our application. It's an 18-acre array in a field. There's some minor clearing, less than 2 acres of clearing to account for shadowing. It's pretty much it. Brett, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to it, simply put, about the project.
Right, you have to unmute yourself, please, Pingree.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. The only thing, let me.
Brett, I'd like you to tell folks where you are in this.
Thank you.
What you are in this endeavor.
Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, my name is Brett Pingree. I live here in Maine. I work for Soltage. I've been with Soltage for 3 years. I've been developing renewable energy projects for, I think, 17 years. And we have been working with Mr. Doyle, the landowner, to develop this project on the field, off H Road. We've met with the town of Acton a number of times, which has been great. We've gotten some good feedback, and we have gotten some good questions, some good feedback, and we're happy to go through some of those questions and comments that we've had from the planning board last week and previously. We can go through that list from last week if we'd like. There were a few questions and comments from last week that we could go through. But one of the things that I'll mention is that we've contacted the superintendent's office and the town treasurer to coordinate financial credits from this project to help offset some of the energy bills at the school and the town office. So that's in progress. They're going to share their bills with us so we can establish a savings, like a 10 to 20% savings on the bills for the town and the town office. So that's in progress, and that came up last week in the planning board meeting. Also, Dennis, I know you asked about how much we were cutting, and we picked this site because it's a field, a southwest southerly facing field, and there really isn't a lot of tree cutting or forest disturbance. The amount of acreage that is being cut is less than 2 acres. Jim has the exact number. but it's less than 2 acres. There will be, I incorrectly stated there weren't any structures. We do look to put a 20-foot container to hold spares on the southeast end of the property, which would be fully out of sight from anywhere along H Road.
But that container is temporary and just during construction. Is that right, Brett?
Right. Yes.
That's a temporary structure,
Yeah.
correct?
It's a mobile temporary structure, part of construction. Yep.
All right.
Yep. And then let's see what else came up last week. We can the size of the fence, that was a question there. The array will have a chain link fence around it. That's per the electrical code. The electrical code says either 6-foot chain with 1 foot of barbed wire. Typically we just do 7 feet of chain link, and that's what we've done on all of our other projects because that's the electrical code, and nobody really wants barbed wire. I don't think it's necessary. I think, Dennis, you had mentioned potentially raising that height. I would suggest not to raise it. It just, I don't think it's necessary, but it's up for the planning board to discuss. The code is a 7-foot height for code. And, deer can jump over that. They can jump over and in and out. So that, that's what we've done typically is the 7 feet. The other question that came up was just about wildlife. Wildlife can go around the array. Some wildlife can go under the fence. We could raise the fence up by a foot or so, but I would just caution that decision because sometimes that allows people to crawl under. And I don't think that's, there's any reason that we don't want people crawling into the array. It's not good for them and it's not good for us. So, so that was a question that came up last week. And I
Brett,
think we talked about, oh yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Well, if I may, we did notify the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. They're aware of the project. They've given their blessing. They didn't have any concessions or a special request for the project, as it states, So, raising the fence or doing anything to accommodate wildlife wasn't a concern for them for this project.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's no critical habitat or endangered species or undue impact on wildlife that concerned wildlife, the wildlife fisheries folks. So I'm trying to think what else there was from last week. Oh, the site distance. Tom, you had brought up site distance. We did have a consultant look at that, and the town ordinance is 350 feet, I believe. Jim, help me out here. 350
Yeah.
feet.
The town road is posted at 35 miles per hour, so the site distance from the road edge is 350 feet in either direction, and we have well over that. We have close to over 500 feet site distance north and south, clear line of sight. So we certainly meet any town standards that are having. Where the ordinance makes reference to the subdivision site distance. That's referenced in the site subdivision ordinance, so I referred to that, and we are in clear condition there with a clear line of sight beyond the minimum threshold of 350 feet.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. I think the only other item I may mention is we talked about this before is that, we would, as a matter of course, with all these projects, we meet with the town fire chief and walk through the site and go through, the whole solar array and how to access the site. And we call it a training. There isn't a lot to do because there's no moving parts. It's a very static system, but that is a standard matter of course for us to meet with the fire chief and ensure that any questions or concerns that they may have are fully addressed. And having done this a number of times, that's a pretty straightforward process. There really aren't many concerns that the fire chief has. So, but that's part of, I just want to make sure that that's clear. That's part of our process. That's a requirement for us. The other thing I was going to mention was well, I'll think about it in a minute, but I don't know, maybe we pause there for a moment and see if there's any questions that the planning board may have.
Well, what I'd like to do is open this to the public right now, because as a planning board, we will probably be meeting, we will be meeting again. But, so if anybody is here in the waiting room for this public hearing, you have to put your video on so we can see you, and you will have to be unmuted, and you have to raise your hand to speak. If you are not there, if you don't do those things, we're not going to see you. And we all hate the word assume. I've got to look at my other screen, but we know that we will have to assume that you really don't have anything to say. So far, I see Amanda O with her hand up. Hang on a second. I just want to acknowledge I see you. Is there anyone else? All right. Amanda, you seem to have questions, but you are still muted. Can you? There you go.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? And welcome to the meeting.
Good, thank you. I am on 472 H Road. I directly abut the property in the front. Me and my husband would like to inquire about the road leading to the property and any burden on that right away.
Somebody else's.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Amanda. Nice to meet you. Is your property the property that has the easement? Okay, great. Yeah, so that's a great question. And what I would say is we are willing to work with you on what works best for you. We can either cut a new road or access at the top part, the north end of your property, which follows Larry's easement, or we'll have to create a road or improve the existing road, and it has to follow the easement unless for some reason you would prefer us to use the existing road and improve that. That's certainly something that we can work with you on. Right now, we have the access road following the very top northern section of your property where the easement is. But we can adjust that working with you on, what's best for you.
Also, on the southbound property.
Yeah, there's also an easement on the southbound side of the property. Are we talking about the right of way through my driveway?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We are. We looked at the south side, southern easement, and the challenge with that is it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but it runs into wetlands, and we would disturb wetlands, and
That's correct.
that would trigger. That would create a lot of problems.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go on the south side, it was reviewed, and there are additional impacts. There's additional clearing, and there's additional wetland impacts. And to permit this project, the DEP, wants to know that we made the best faith effort to minimize wetland and resource impacts. And also, this other access is what I believe Larry Doyle, had preference to use. This other access was his preference. So those are several factors that went into it. Certainly minimizing wetland impacts and resource impacts and additional clearing was a significant consideration.
Okay, how about the site survey
Yeah, so that's a good,
on
another.
the north and west boundaries?
Northwest.
I'm sorry, the northwest boundary.
Yep. So that was, I check in with Mr. Doyle frequently. He mentioned to me that, that you and your husband had pointed out that perhaps the survey had been conducted incorrectly.
Correct.
Larry had gone out and said he measured it. I'm going to play hot potato here, Jim. I flipped that over to you guys. You reached out to the surveyors. We had asked them to come back out and double check that. Do you have the results of that effort?
I don't. The surveyors will look into that and do a follow-up on that. And once we have that information available, we can provide that to you. I can check with the surveyors and see where they are. I believe that the surveyors were going to get in touch with Larry Doyle directly and coordinate. I don't know if that's been followed up on, so
Yeah,
we can look into that.
What I'd add, Linda, is that we will absolutely, for total certainty, ensure that that boundary is correct. That's what we pay these surveyors to do, and that's their job, is to survey properties day in and day out, so there's not even a question in my mind that we will have that property properly surveyed if it isn't already, and it sounds like it might not be, and that sometimes things like that happen, but without a certainty, without any doubt, that property will be properly surveyed, and we will follow the exact proper lines. So
Okay. All right. And, the only other question I have is with the added burden, I mean, that right away is only used about maybe 20 times a year. And I know there's going to be a lot of construction going on back there. And we're just, we're concerned it's kind of, right on the edge of our, property. And,
The original easement.
the original easement wasn't necessarily written for this type of, thing to be happening back there. So we're just, we'd have some concerns about that as well. Is there any input you can give us for that?
yeah, absolutely. And you know what, I agree with your concern, and I think it's a good question, to inquire and have concern about that. Let me explain a little more, and I've explained this to the planning board in previous meetings. The construction cycle process for a solar farm like this size is typically 4 to 6 months long. Okay, and it's not super heavy intensive construction, especially at this site, because we don't, with other solar projects, sometimes you have loggers coming in and skidders and cutting trees and digging up roots and that grubbing the site. We don't have that here, which is great, which is one of the reasons why we selected this site. So that's an advantage.
Are you watching it?
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
But what will happen at a high level, 4 to 6 months, there may be some seasonality in the winter that may break up that construction cycle into 2 parts. But what happens is that they'll improve the road. They'll send. We aren't going to level the site. We aren't going to change the grading of the site. We're going to leave all that grass intact. We don't want to disturb. We'll disturb as little as possible, because that means it's less we have to actually replant. So we keep all that native grass intact. So what you'll have is, once they build the road, improve the road, they'll build one road into the array. They'll dig a trench for the electrical conduit. They'll bring a concrete truck in to pour I don't know the exact dimension off the top of my head, but call it a 10 by 10 foot concrete transformer pad. They will, then once the roads are built, the concrete pad and the trench for the conduit is set up, they'll lay the conduit line. Then they'll bring in the post drivers for the
Dan Whitney is on it.
mounted on posts. And so they'll drive 2,000 of these metal piles. Those go pretty quick.
Is this something that's going to be happening on the easement?
He's talking about, he's talking about that.
Okay.
It's not the question of the construction. We're all about the, I'm sorry, this is Doug, I'm her husband. We're all about the
Howdy.
solar, we're all about the solar power, and we think that's great, and I don't think it's going to disturb anything back there. What we're worried about is the increased burden on the easement that gives access to the property that Larry Doyle's going to let you put your construction, you build your solar power plant, your solar array, an extremely large solar array, over 10 acres of land, which would put it at most any state's stipulation of a large, not medium or small, and for off-site purpose only. So we're just worried about the amount of traffic that's going to be using that compared to the amount of traffic that uses that currently. And,
Yep.
we're looking at that burden and whether it's necessary to get an injunction to hold off on it would be, that's all we're trying to figure out right now. What our next step is.
I think Jim wants to get in on this. Jim Moore.
Sure. Yeah, and I understand his question and his concern. That as Brett indicated, the construction will take place, 4 to 6 months. But after that, there will be no traffic. This is just a temporary and dare I say short-term, project for construction. And once it's built, it's not a manned station. There's nobody manning it. There'll be no traffic in and out of the site on a daily basis.
Okay, so it's not a heavy maintenance area or anything like that.
No, they may do an inspection once or twice a year to make sure twice a year. They'll mow the grass. We're not allowed to mow the grass any more than twice a year per our DEP permit. So the amount of traffic that you'll see beyond construction will be limited to almost non-existent and maybe even less than what's being currently trafficked now. So I understand your concern and I respect that, and I think that the contractor who will build that will certainly recognize the abutting properties and have it fenced off with silt fence to maintain any erosion and sediment control, so it just stays confined to the accessway and the easement. But again, once the project is built, after 6 months, there will be very little to no traffic on a regular basis.
That definitely answers a couple, the question I had as far as I didn't know how occupied, or how much maintenance or whatever would be required back there. And if you don't mind me asking one more question about, I know you're talking about conduit you run in between the solar panels and stuff. As far as attaching the solar power to the power that is at the street on the northwest end of H Road, is that going to be above ground, underground? Is there a huge transformer that's built there?
Real quickly, and Brett can interject, we will go, it is underground until it reaches its first riser pole, which is back behind the array. And then there are a few poles that are placed that carry the power to the distribution lines along the road frontage. There won't be any transformers other than along some of the smaller, I call them trash can transformers, but transformers up on the riser poles along the road frontage. They're interconnect poles that allow the power that's being generated at the array to be connected to the distribution lines along the road frontage. So there will be a few poles there with some transformers up on the poles.
That's great. I mean, we think, I myself think that that's a great field back there to put solar power in. And I think it's good for the environment. I think it's good for the community. And just me on a personal note, I'm just trying to figure out what is, what decisions are made and what's going to be done and kind of built on property that, that I own, that, Larry Doyle and I share as, a dominant, as an easement, and then that's the only questions I had is, how much disturbance there would be and how long. And other than that, I mean, we think it's a great idea. We have to value our property.
Yes, too.
And obviously any changes, to the property you're either going to add or, take away from the value of the property. That's all we're worried about.
Yeah, no, that's
They're very
great.
quiet neighbors. As far as neighbors are concerned, you won't hear any loud dogs barking. As far as neighbors, they won't have any offensive smells. Nobody will trespassing or running dogs on your property. So they're very quiet neighbors in that regard.
Joyce, you do. I'm sorry. Let me interrupt for a second. Joyce, you do have public raising their hands when you're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're sorry. We just we had a lot of concerns.
Okay.
No, that's okay. I can't. There's a delay, so I can't tell when who's done or what. I just want to make sure the chair knew that. Ron, I see you. You can put your hand down.
Yeah, I've seen Ron there.
I did have one
Okay.
last question.
I have to flip pages to see everybody, page 1 and page 2. So,
Is the solar array, is that going to be an auto tracking solar array, or is that going to be a stationary solar array?
Yeah, so it's a fixed tilt. So
Fixed tilt, okay.
at this latitude, we use only fixed tilt, so they won't move. And the other thing I was going to mention to your construction, impact was we can stipulate the hours of construction so they don't start too early or work too late. So we can work through that with you on, a reasonably good working hours.
No, that sounds great. You
That'd be
definitely answered a lot of my questions and put me at ease, and I do appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely contact us so we can, discuss those things also. That would be awesome.
thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you all very
Thank
much,
you.
the 3 of you.
I look forward to meeting you.
All right.
Yes, as well.
Thank you. Ron, I'm sorry I don't want to mess up your last name.
Ron is fine. I have a quick question. Since I came late to this, I missed it all. Where is this? Where is this solar farm going to be?
This is on H Road. From, I guess, the town office, if you travel north on H Road, maybe a mile or two. It used to be an old apple orchard back in the 60s, I believe. And it's property that belongs by Larry Doyle.
It's the Roma land. Is it the Roma Orchards?
I'm not, it might be, not familiar with the name.
But is it abutting Wilson Lake?
No.
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 Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
It's
on,
between H Road and I would guess West Shore Drive.
Yeah, it's not part of the Romac apple orchard?
No,
No.
no, not at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Opposite side of the street, Ron. Thank you. All right. Are there any more questions regarding Soltage public hearing? I'm going to change my screen to look at more pictures. No one? Okay, just a reminder, if you want to speak, you have to have your video on, and so I can see you raise your hand. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody very much for showing up for this and our new way of doing things. And I hope that the fellows from Soltage answered a lot of your questions. It seemed to me they did. Jim and Brett, we will get together. You touch base with your people. We'll get together with you next week. And, oh, I see a couple of hands up. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, I wasn't at the computer at the beginning, but I heard them talking about the possibly selling electricity at a reduced rate to the town or something. That's nothing to do with the planning board. How it affects the town has nothing to do with the decision of the board. Correct?
Correct.
All right.
You are aware of that.
We just want to reiterate, at the gate, there'll be, I'm gonna mention you guys will have your phone number on it, site location, just like cell towers do.
Yes, that's correct. There will be a sign that makes reference to safety, as well as ownership, no trespassing, but there'll be a sign that has some information on who to contact if, you know, some reason something happens, but there'll be some contact information on that, on the perimeter fence and the gate to reflect ownership and safety and no trespassing.
And I think we talked early on about the Knox box, the fire department entry box at the gate as well too.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Ken.
Yeah, the Knox box, fire department entry at the gate.
You're really kind of echoing there. Could you get a little closer to your speaker, maybe?
No.
In a little? No? I'll give it a
I
try.
think the echo may be coming from feedback from other people who have their microphones not unmuted.
Christina's going to speak to him. I think it's where he's located, Joyce. Give him just a second.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Jen, very much. Thanks, Ben.
Joyce, if I can interject for a moment. Jim, Ken is asking about a Knox box on the gate for the fire department to use if needed.
Okay, Brett, do you have any comments on how the gate is accessed via the fire department if needed?
I don't. I have to find out that answer out. I don't have that at the top of my head right now. I probably can get an answer here within 60 seconds if you give me a minute.
I'm assuming a Knox box is similar to maybe what realtors use on properties, or is this more of like a secure box that they can access?
A Knox box is on a lot of buildings that it's a secure box attached to the building, or in this case, a fence.
Okay.
And the fire department has a key to access it so that they can open the gate with a key without having to damage your fence or a lock or anything like that should they need to get in there.
Seems pretty reasonable.
Right, but you want to double check whether they're not being a building down there. They may not have to qualify for a Knox box. I mean, we have them with all the town buildings, but that may not qualify. But nevertheless.
Yes, Dennis.
First off, I'd like to thank the gentleman for addressing all my concerns that I brought up last week. And I am satisfied with all their answers. And as far as the conversation about the Knox box, it is a standard for all these type of things, and it is no requirement. The fire chief's going to want to have access to that property. It's just common, at least in this town. We've been doing it for years and years. There will be, I say there will be, as far as I'm concerned, that'll be part of one of the requirements on the conditional use permit.
Yeah. Jim?
Yeah, I think, as Brett indicated, meeting with the fire department and talking about the project and their concerns, if the fire department has any concerns and any wishes and any requirements, I'm sure Brett Pingree and Soltage and the contractors will institute those conditions accordingly.
Yep.
Safety is certainly the first and most concern of anybody, and certainly of Soltage and this project. They want to make sure it's done safely, correctly, and openly and transparently. So while this goes into play and into service prior to any final action, or as Dennis said, a condition of the permit, working with the fire department and meeting their needs will be of priority number one. I can.
And I just confirmed that we do provide. I just didn't know the term, so we do provide the lockbox with the key on the gate. So.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Ken, back to you for any.
I guess if the board goes to approve it, I'll just need updated plans. and remove the not for construction. And include a final signature block.
I don't know about the rest of the board, but I did not hear you clearly enough to what you said. Let's give them a minute here. Okay. Dennis, are we losing Ken to?
I think they're changing places, Joyce. Just give them a second.
Yep.
Dennis seems to be in the area with better reception, so I think Ken's moving his computer over there.
Okay, thank you again. Whoops, he's back.
Is that any better?
Oh, yes.
So it's just, if the board does approve, I'll need a set of updated plans with the not for construction logo pulled off of those. And then we'll also have a plan with a signature block for the planning board to sign off on.
Sure. I'm looking at the plans now. This is the, yeah, certainly. We provided the site plan in this application. Are you referring to, once this application gets approved, that would be part of the building permit application that would be submitted, or is this an updated to this conditional use application?
Either way, if we got it ahead of time, then we wouldn't be looking for it at the time. When do you think you'd be applying for the building permit and starting for construction?
September would be ideal, maybe October.
Yep. So apply in July, August.
Okay, so you're looking for a building permit application next month or August with updated plans accordingly.
Yep, that would work great. And just for Amanda, the abutter that had a lot of questions, if you go to the town website on the planning board page, you can click the link and all their plans are right on there too, if you've got any more questions.
Thank you, Amanda. Anything else with Soltage?
I've got a question. Was the board going to go through the conditional use application and the standards and make a decision this evening?
We are not going to do that this evening.
Okay.
On quite a while. So we will do that next week. And we will make our decision next week.
Okay.
So,
I was under the impression that the decision.
well,
was
yeah,
this
I mean, it would be nice, but things have changed. And with all, we have to digest everything we heard tonight. It would be
Right.
unfair to go forward. So
Yeah, I understand.
okay, one more week, guys. And I thank you for forthcoming with all of your information and your willingness to talk to the abutters and answer the questions we brought forward last week.
Yeah.
Your internet connection is unstable.
So next week, will we go through the application and through the standards one by one, or
One
will
by
the
one.
board-
One by one.
Okay.
We'll be about 20-minute, half hours to do that. And that is everything. No further questions. I'm going to call this public hearing to an end. And thank everybody very much. I just want to check my double pages here to make sure no one else is there. Seeing and hearing no one, public hearing is ended. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the planning board meeting in the town of Acton for June 18th to order at 7:13 p.m. Tonight, we will be celebrating both Jim Crowley and Tom. Wait a minute for that. We will both be voting tonight as alternates. Yoli Gallagher and Gavin Mahoney are both out tonight. So there are 2 alternates will be voting. So the first thing we're going to bring up, let me get back to this page that I want. Okay. I seem to have lost a whole lot of people here. Sorry, guys. There we go.
Joyce, I got a quick question.
Yes, Tom.
Since there are 5 in attendance tonight is Joyce, Leslie, Dennis, Jim, and Tom.
Correct.
You have 6 planning board members and 2 alternates, but all you need is one of the alternates. Isn't that true?
Well, since we have 5 here, I would like to use all 5 of you. Have all 5 members here.
Well, what I'm suggesting is that you have Joyce, Leslie, Dennis, Jim, and Tom. So you have 6 members present. You only need one of the alternates voting.
Well,
which would be Jim, because it was my turn last week.
I know. You had your hand up, Ken.
I think we only have 5 total, counting the 2 alternates.
That's what I've counted.
Yeah. Yoli and Gavin are missing, so we're down.
Yoli and Gavin are both gone. They're not here.
Understood, but you only need 5 persons in present to vote, and you have 6.
There's only 5.
Well, Joyce is there, Leslie is there, Dennis is there, Jim in there, and Tom is there. Right?
Yeah.
My mistake.
Sorry?
Understood.
Thank you. Shall we? Both alternates will be voting tonight.
Gotcha. Sorry about that.
No problem. I'd like to go on to the minutes of the June 11th meeting. Have you all seen them and read them? And when, if you have, I would like a motion to accept them, either as amended or as they are. Dennis?
I make a motion to accept the minutes of, I'm sorry, I don't have my
June
11th.
Jim Crowley.
Second. Dennis's motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I have one point to raise.
Yes, Tom?
On page 2 of 3 of the minutes for June 11, 20. I think sometimes we get confused, I know I do, with the question of whether the preliminary plan submissions have to be all in order for the approval of the submissions to be necessarily approved or not.
What are you referring to?
When we say, for example, on page 2 of 3, just above new business, Dennis moved to accept the preliminary plan application for an 18 lot subdivision.
We did accept it. We did not approve. We accepted.
That's the distinction.
That is the distinction, and it says it clearly. We accepted. We did not approve. We accepted. We accepted the paperwork.
Right.
We accepted the plan, and that's it. That's as far as that goes.
But I get confused anyway. Does that mean that the acceptance is distinct from approval?
Absolutely, absolutely, Tom.
Approval of the submissions, not the whole damn thing. I understand that.
All it's saying is we got the paperwork in our hands, period. It has nothing to do what's in it, because we got it in our hands, and now we have a chance, we have the ability to look at it, to go through it, to ask for more, to go on and on. We simply accepted it. Nothing further than that. Is that clearer? Hang on, Leslie.
The language in the minutes, I guess, would lead me to believe that the preliminary plan application process is complete.
It doesn't say it was approved. It says it was accepted. It does not say anywhere that it's approved.
Okay.
Leslie?
Would it be better if we use the phraseology of "we received it"?
Yes, I like that better.
I mean, that seems to would clear up the confusion and controversy at times.
Dennis?
I honestly don't see any controversy. It's laid out very clear. There's a difference between accepting something and approving something. We went through this quite a bit in the past, and this is something that we decided how we were going to do things so that it was clearer, and I think it's perfectly clear the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that things, I mean, but we're having a difficulty now.
I don't know why we are, I guess.
I agree.
I think, okay. I think if you check your ordinance book, we approve and we accept. That's what we should stick with. We accept a plan, and we approve a plan. And by no means, I believe it says right in the book, by no means does it mean because we have accepted something that we approve it at any stage. It simply means that that's all it is. So.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All in favor of, we do this by roll call, please. All in favor of accepting the June 11th minutes.
All the people.
Please, I will ask you, I'm sorry, Jim Crowley,
I accept?
you're voting yes?
Yes.
Tom Cashin,
Yes.
Leslie Berlin,
Yes.
thank you. And Dennis Long,
Yes.
the chairman votes in the affirmative. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. You heard previously, I think it's prudent for us to, old business, to digest what we've learned from Soltage tonight. So we would go on to see them in a week. Second, subdivision application submitted by Tim Mahoney, 422 Buzzell Road, map 211, lot 010. An application for a subdivision modification. His public hearing is scheduled on July 2nd, 2020. And if you all remember, we were looking for a change from a 10% grade to an 8% grade. Is Tim here tonight? I do not believe so. Ken, have you anything?
We did get the upgraded design, and I've sent it in to Ben to take a look at today. So by time for the public hearing, we should be all set.
Okay. Any questions from the board? And Ben, you will get back to us so we're ready for the public hearing?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next on our agenda, Grammy Rose LLC, Route 109, map 233, lot 004. Site plan review application for a dog rescue and sanctuary, mini golf course, and an ice cream shop. The public hearing for this is scheduled for July 9th, 2020. So anyone who is interested, please join us. I have nothing on my agenda. Ken, have you any news on your side?
No new updates.
Thank you very much. Going on. Martell Estates, Arnie Martell, 760 Young Ridge Road, map 217, lot 028-030. Application for an 18-lot subdivision. Here we go. Brad, are you around?
Yes, Brad Jones with Jones and Beach here.
Okay. Well, just, again, I'm turning a page here. There you are. Hello? Okay. Thank you for sending that in. Why don't you tell us, give us a synopsis of where we stand, please.
I'm sure. Yeah, we have submitted a new set of plans to the town. And once again, I'm Brad Jones. I'm with Jones and Beach Engineers. And the design right now is an 18-lot residential subdivision. And we designed with conventional lots. They're going to have 250 feet of frontage in 2-acre lots. And each lot's going to have its own individual well, individual septic. It'll all be powered by underground power throughout the subdivision. There are also, you'll see on your plans, there's 2 other lots that are shown on the plan. We are going to do requesting a lot line adjustment, and that is on map 217 lot 30, and that's a existing 2.3 acre lot on Youngs Ridge Road. And then there's another lot that is listed at map 217 lot 26. That's an existing 2-acre lot with frontage on Ham's Camp Road, and that is shown in our plans because we want to access that through our new subdivision road. The plans themselves of none of the roads or the geometry of the lots or anything have changed since the last time you saw it. We do have 2 roads. Right now, we don't have a name for the roads, but the first road, longest road that goes down towards the lake, it's 1,954 feet in length, and it's going to be built to town standards, and it'll be paved with gravel shoulders. We'll have swales and catch basins, and then the second road is going to be like a spur road coming off of the main road, and that's 855 feet, and with a hammerhead turnaround, and both of these roads are going to be private roads and constructed in the same fashion. So, so that is going to give access to all the lots. Out on Youngs Ridge Road, we have looked at the site distance, and we have no issues with that. We have over 350 feet of site distance, and so everything's, the roads fit in there pretty good. The property itself is in the rural zone, and once again, I went through the size of the lots based on that zoning. We did get comments from Ben Smith, and we just got those, I guess it was yesterday, so we will go through that. I didn't see anything that was going to make any kind of a major change to our plans, but there were some things that next time we come in, we would like to reflect that back on the plans and kind of come up with an updated plan. So the subdivision itself will have covenants and the homeowners association. So there'll be rules for all the lots, and we will be submitting those to the town. We want to get a little further into this, and once we get that to you, it'll be all laid out, and it helps have conformity to the houses and conformity to the rules and regulations. I'm actually president of my association here in Alton, and it's an important aspect to have. And they'll also be responsible for the maintenance on the stormwater ponds. That we have 2 of those on the property, so the homeowner association will be in charge and responsible for that maintenance. So, like I say, those documents will be forthcoming as we get down into the process a little further, and can get those so they actually fit what we're doing. I guess that's kind of an overview of the subdivision. Didn't know if there were any questions from the board.
Joyce, can I interrupt for a moment?
Yes.
I've got a private message from the attorney from Julia, and she'd like to ask you a procedural point of order question before you allow it to go any further, if possible.
No.
This is a regular meeting, and we usually do not take questions from the audience at this time. We're just getting into this. I would be, I think I'd be remiss if I started taking questions, and I will ask you to hold off.
It's a procedural question. I just want to make sure you heard what I...
Oh, I heard you. I heard you.
Okay. Gotcha. I will, she can hear you, so she's heard your answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so right now, does the board have questions?
Could Brad or one of maybe the chairwoman could give me the date again of the plan that we are currently reviewing?
It should be the last one you got, Tom. And I would say the dates on it, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, the 21st of May? Okay, we've lost his volume.
The plan set this is Ben Smith from North Star Planning. The plan set that was submitted to the town for this evening's meeting was a 28-page plan set dated May 20th. And there was a bound submission along with that of supporting materials that was dated May 21st.
Okay. Tom, is that helpful?
May 20th and 21st, is that correct?
Correct.
And I've asked this question before, Joyce, during previous meetings. This is a new application. We're not borrowing anything from the previous editions. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Tom. All right. And from the board, anything else? Ken, have you come in on this at this point? Haven't just got this last week.
I heard Brad say he got Ben's comments. You also got the checklist from the DEP, the preliminary checklist from them as well, right?
Yes, we've got comments from DEP, and we actually have a meeting with them on Monday to go over that. And so those just came in beginning of the week. So we are already addressing those comments. Those will be reflected on our plans, and a lot of those have to do with the stormwater systems and the phosphorus calculations, that type of thing. So, but yeah, we will have everything revised and for our next meeting, and that'll reflect what any comments the DEP has. So.
Dennis.
I would respectfully ask the chair to ask the host to not put up questions from people that aren't part of this meeting.
Okay. Jennifer?
It's distracting for me.
Okay. Jennifer?
As Joyce?
Planning board does not take questions at a regular meeting. We ask people to save their questions for public hearings and such.
And I appreciate that, Dennis. I don't sit in on your meetings, so I don't know, but when an attorney private messages me on the Zoom chat, I thought it was the right thing to do to bring it to the chairman. I will not do that any further. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. You're in a different place. And I will say that I did see a message come across from Dana Bridges, but it was not a complete message, so I couldn't read it. And honestly, I would have read it, but I did not see it. So, shall we continue on? If you would hold on one moment, please. I am seeing a chat come forward. This is definitely not something I want to bring forward at this time. Ken?
And just like Soltage, the plans for this project are on the planning board's page on the town website.
Right. We are in the process of going through this preliminary plan. We are not looking at it as a complete plan at this time. As you all know, it's a lot of things to digest there. So bear with us. We will go through our procedures as they are in the subdivision book and by ordinance. We will handle them that way. One person's completeness may not be another, and what may be acceptable to one person may not be to another, but we have a very good set of ordinances to work with, and that's what we will endeavor to do. Okay. Planning board, any further questions?
A question to Joyce.
Yes.
In previous boards, we used to give voice to the legal issues that may or may not be involved in the application. And as we're all well aware, there are several documents in front of us that are pertaining to legal challenges and rebuttals to those challenges. At what time do you see it's proper to introduce that to the whole board?
I would probably say at the next meeting.
Great.
Probably say I'm well aware of the legal documents, the documents from legal people in regards to this. And I will say this, that those documents, while they are all well intended, and I appreciate very much from everybody the different opinions they have given, we still go back to the subdivision ordinance handbook that we have, and that is how we go. We have to take it all into consideration and go by the Acton subdivision book. You've been, all of you have been on the committee long enough that, opinions, we've said this many times, we may not always agree with something. We may have a different opinion about something. We can only go by these subdivision ordinances. So, any further questions on that?
Not I. Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome. Brad, anything from you?
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is, like I said, we just got the report from Ben Smith, North Star. So I will actually go back and go through each item and send back a response and get that back to the town. So we'll have that to you, prior to the next meeting. So.
Okay, we'll have that before. That will be very important that we have that before the next meeting.
Sure.
And Ben, you can be with us again, I hope.
Okay.
Next meeting. Yeah. Very good.
Brad means
Sure.
that statement a response to the legal queries or no?
No, I mean, this is a town planner for North Star. So
Okay.
response back to his letter. Yeah. And, and just, I mean, there are other things, moving parts. I mean, we're working with the DEP, and obviously we're going back and forth and responding back to them. And then any items that they have will get, and this is for the slaughter permit, they'll get incorporated into our plans. And what I can do is, as I bring in and involve the plan, I'll can show you what changes, and a lot of it is got to do with actually the slaughter permit itself, but we'd be happy to kind of go through that, walk the town through that. So.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ken? Going back to you. You should be getting back Ben's questions to Brad and Brad's response for our next meeting, and I think we should be able to go forward at that point, unless you see a reason why we can't. I do not feel it is time to bring up legal pros and cons at this point. Can you hear me, Ken?
No, I said I was all set. I agree with you.
Thank you very much.
The board probably doesn't have the last letters that came in the last couple of days either, so.
Right.
I need to get it, Ben needs to absorb it, and we can go from there.
Right. Very good. Okay. Then if there is nothing further on this. Excuse me, folks. If there's nothing further on this, I think we'll be moving on. Thank you, everyone who's here for that. I'm sure we'll see you next week. Please, if you're looking for anything, go to our website. Everything we have is on our website. That is the planning board website. And stick with us there. You can see everything we do. So thank you all. Next on our agenda, York County Agricultural Association, which is 13th Street, map 241, lot 003, extraction application for parking lot expansion. The update is they did not realize that we were meeting again. So they've been in touch with Ken. Ken, why don't you fill them in?
I was going to say just what you said. So I talked with their engineer the other day, and I told them we're back on. So they're going to finish up a couple of things and get back in the schedule with us. And I believe the fair's canceled this year, so that's going to take the pressure off of getting the parking lot ready and making sure it's all set. So it's going to buy him a little time. So hopefully we'll see him in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
By then, hopefully we got some of the stuff off the agenda we've been dealing with.
Right. One of the things I want to make sure of, I will ask Christina to make sure we get copies of any information that comes in on any of our applicants, so we have everything up to date. Tom, sometime when you're out and about, maybe you could check in with Christina and pick up anything that might come in, Monday or Tuesday, something like that. And make yourselves familiar with it. We don't have our Wednesday workshops anymore, but we really need to do that work anyway. The other thing I would like to bring up to speed, in our ordinance, you all have to realize that when we have a public hearing, if you are not here, whether you're a full member or an associate member, if you are not here for the public hearing, you forfeit your right to vote on the final vote for that project, whatever it be. So you know, Tom.
Where did that idea land from?
Sorry?
Where did that idea arise? What gave out?
From our ordinance book. town ordinance book.
Could you help me sometime in the near future find that citation?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was reminded of it from Brenda today. So we will find it and then give you a copy of it. Absolutely. Ken?
I think we're all set with Ben, unless he doesn't have anything better to do than Zoom into a planning board meeting.
I don't know. He's sitting in an air-conditioned room.
He looks pretty good. Not as good as Ron Sahatchin had with his background down. It looked like Key West or something.
Although it did look like Key West, didn't it? It was
And
lovely.
it looks like Kim's at the lake too, so.
I think Kim is at the lake. I love the scene behind her.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, you too. Right, is there anything from the planning board on anything? Tom, we'll get that from you from Brenda, so you'll know where it comes from. Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Ken?
Under new business, we have for their conditional use. I think they're still on vacation. I don't see them online. I'm not sure if they're very Zoom capable, so I'll try touching base with them this week. Last I spoke, they were going on vacation, so I think they're still out of town.
Okay, because I didn't call them because I didn't see them either.
Yeah, I don't either. It's hard though when somebody's Steve 12 and, you know, a lot of the screen names aren't their own names. So.
Yeah, or Sherry, who I'm sure is very nice. It is very hard. So anyway, that being said, please give them a call and we'll hopefully see them next week. And that is, folks, for you, Val and Jennifer Bickford, 123 Buzzell Road, conditional use application to process and sell firewood, just so you know. That being said, Tom.
What is the date of the next meeting, please?
Next Thursday.
Thank you. And what's the date?
Tom, I know a whole lot of things, but asking me for a date at this point.
25th.
25th. He was faster than me. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Would entertain a motion, please, to adjourn?
I can make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Dennis, seconded by Jim. Leslie? Aye? Yay. Nothing?
Yeah, yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you very much. Good night, all.
Thank you,
Good
John.
night.